Okay, I'm back. I'm not going to touch the buttons anymore. And let me load up here once again. I had to delete that one so that people don't go back into it. Let me see here. What am I doing here? I'm going to refresh the page. Yeah, I'm back. My laptop's slow. That was giving me problems last time. Okay, we got 7 people in here now. People are starting to recheck, I guess, and find it again. I have to make sure that other one's not in here. Okay, no, it's not in there. So yeah, I'm good to go. We just got this one. Oh, hi to Ben's daughter. How you doing? Thanks for joining in. Maybe I'll see you guys up in the boat at the lake next year. Let me get this one playing here so I can see the chat again. Zachary Gross saying hi to everyone who's new in here. Or you're new here. Okay, thanks for coming in, man. How you doing? Howdy from Oklahoma. Cheers. I'm in Toronto, Canada. Not too far from the United States border at Niagara Falls, and we're kind of close to Buffalo as well. Woodcutters in here, new here. Howdy, thank you. I'm guessing a couple of you guys have been coming into coming from the Andrews chat group there. Let's see. Okay, Joseph Grant, you drinking the wrong beer, Pabst Blue Ribbon. Yeah, I'm pretty funny with the beer. I can only drink Heineken. Stella is yuck. I used to drink that, but I can't anymore. It's a little bit bitter. And Corona is a little bit too light, like 4%, it's not very good, right? Yeah, so that's all I can drink. Canadian beers are kind of popular in the U.S. that I've heard, and American beer is I mean, a lot of you guys drink light beer, right? And up in Canada, we frown upon that. We don't drink any light beer here. But it's just marketing. That's why a lot of Americans are drinking the light beer. Yeah, so a lot of your beers is like 4% alcohol. Our beers is we're drinking the regular ones that have 5%. We don't have much of a light beer industry. We sell a lot of Coors Light here, that's for sure, right? Tons of Coors Light. Bud Light as well, that sells here too. Um, Goats, Firewood, and Farms. Yeah, you will probably gain 20 to 30 subs. Is that for me? Um, Yeah, you know what? People look at the channels that are in here, guys. The people signing up. Everybody subscribe to everybody here, man. Go take a look at their channels and share the wealth on information with all these Firewood people in here. So the story I was talking about before was James Bainton. He has Shibe, so James Bainton, speaking of him, he says, Shibe, Outside with Shibe is one of the Woodhounds guys. And a lot of the people that come in my live stream, and I'm part of the Woodhound community, and that's via the Back 40 Firewood channel. And he has a live stream every Friday. So I've gotten a lot to know a lot of the guys who are on there, and mostly guys in the Midwest. But Outside with Shibe is in Pennsylvania. And, he's always on his channel drinking Miller Lite, right? So that's why James says Shibe alone supports the entire U.S. light beer industry. So we always have fun with that. Hit the like button, guys. Let's get some more people in here and get this video spread out a bit. Yeah, like I said earlier, I wouldn't be surprised if we get to like maybe 40 people at any given time. So I'm hoping to have a lot of fun here and chat with a bunch of people. It's starting to get chilly in here now. I just had the dryer running and I had the window open, so I wanted to shut the window. Okay, that's better. So, about the the log splitter being brought to the woodyard by James Bainton. I didn't know what he had at the time, and I thought it was an Easton made, and it wasn't the 1222 or the 2228. It was the 37D, which is the diesel one. So we had a little fun with that. I didn't have any big diameter wood, so he just brought the 4-way wedge instead of the 8-way. So we had fun ripping apart a whole bunch of wood. We both started late in the day, and we didn't get, like, we got maybe almost half the pile done there, right? But I had a whole bunch of wood stacked up on the side away from my main pile so that he could come. And I did dwindle into it because he was supposed to come, but you know, in Toronto here, we're busy people, right? So he didn't have the time to come, and would have to been a Saturday too. So that limited the number of days that we would have been able to do it, you know. Goats Firewood and Farms says, I'm from Ohio, but I did meet Shibe at the Paul Bunyan show. Yeah, guys, I wanted to come, man. I want to come to the shows. Paul Bunyan in, I guess that's Southwest Ohio. Is that where it is? And that was a big show. I wanted to meet all the woodhounds. And at these shows, there's also the Firewood Frenzy, which is only in its second year, going into the third year. And that's out in Wisconsin. And that's a bit of ways for me to travel, for me to drive anyway, right? But I like to come out and meet all the guys, because the YouTube community is becoming a big set of people within these events, right? So, you know, some of the guys, they have their own booth for their channel and whatnot, right? And then all the people who come there, they're all making videos, right? And yeah, I would have loved to meet Shibe. Who else was there? I met Andrew at Easton Made Wood Splitters, the biggest manufacturer of log splitters and processors in North America. And I had a chance to take a trip up to the old facility where they used to make them before they moved, and I did a tour of that place. So if you guys didn't see that video, check that out. I was in my early days of starting the channel, so it did help me get a good boost in views, right, and get myself out there, you know. This is Minus here. How you doing? Kerry Francis, keep it up, bro. Thank you. Yeah, loving doing this, man, you know. Goats Firewood and Farms is Eastern Loggers Stump Jumper Outdoors with the Morgans. I'll tell you something about the Outdoors with the Morgans, guys. But let me get back to who I wanted to meet over there. So I wanted to meet Chris in the Woodyard, and I wanted to meet, who else was there? So outside with Shibe was there, and from Canada, from the West Coast, from Victoria Island in British Columbia, Buck and Billy Ray Smith. And if you guys don't know Buck and Billy Ray Smith, he has the biggest heart. He looks like a tough tree cutter kind of guy, and yeah, somebody just messaged me. I'm not gonna message them back. Yeah, so he's an old school BC tree cutter, and he wears like lumberjack shirt with like the sleeves cut off and stuff like that, and you know, he's got the shoulders out and he's got the tats, and you know, he's got the salt and pepper gray hair, and he's a real serious tree cutter, but at the same time, he's like a kid in the candy store, you know. And how many subscribers does he have? I think he's got about 400,000 subscribers, right? But he'll tell you a story about how, you know, he used to be running on the wrong path and into the drinking and everything, and then, you know, he had his little epiphany or whatever, his wake-up call, and he started running the straight path, and, you know, really enjoy supporting the Canadian content here. There's not very many firewood channels here in Canada. There's Easton Made Wood Splitters. They have their own channel, right? There's Skidder Kev, and where's he located? I think is he north of Ajax or something like that? And then there's GP Outdoors. He's out in Eastern Ontario. Then we have Colleen's Farm Adventures. Colleen does a little bit of firewood, but it's mostly farming stuff, and Colleen's in here. That's why I'm calling her name, because I see her in the chats. Hello, Colleen. Thanks for coming. Oh, yeah, Brad at Firewood at the Furnace was at the Paul Bunyan show, too. I want to come down and, you know, meet all you guys, you know. Nuts319, I've seen his channel before. A couple times. I remember somebody mentioning that. Tim Stout says, hello everyone, congratulations on 2 years. Yeah, Joseph Grant says, I know Chris is a mile from where my daughter went to school. Oh wow, yeah, because you're close by in Wisconsin there, right? You're kind of like central, southwestern, somewhat, something like that. I can't remember exactly where. I looked you up on the map on one time. I'm a geography buff, so you know, if ever I'm thinking about where people are, where I have to go, I always do the mapping of everything, right? So, yeah, man, I'd like to come out and meet all you guys, and it's. I wonder how many people that I've drove by in my life because we used to go down to the States all the time, right? So hopefully next year, Bunyan's again in October, and this year I was in Niagara, so I couldn't make it down then, right? And I should have postponed the Niagara because it was cold up here, guys. And when I was in Niagara the year before, I was there 2 weeks later in the year, and it was actually just as cold, right? And then the next like 2 or 3 weeks after I went to Niagara, it was like t-shirt weather, you know? It was almost like sweating weather, right? So hopefully next year I can come. Yeah, so Joseph Grant is southwestern on the Wisconsin River. Okay, so let's talk about the story about me getting on YouTube. So I've been a YouTuber for a long time. I'm a computer person, an internet person, so I enjoy looking things up, and I've learned a ton of information from watching YouTube before. And I remember looking up log splitters when I used to when I had the idea to build a log splitter, right? So even looking back, I'm familiar with Easton Made. I don't remember any of the other brands of log splitters, but I remember the orange and blue of the log splitters from Easton Made, right? So I remember looking them up, and they're out in Perth, Ontario. And yeah, like I said, I went out there and met Andrew. And I wonder if Andrew's here because I got to ask him something. I don't think Andrew's here, but I got to call him anyway to speak to him because this year I want to get Andrew to send down a log splitter in down to the wood yard, right? Because what they do over at Easton Made is they'll bring you a machine and then they'll let you demo it on your channel so that people can see it, and you know it's like promoting their product, right? So I said I'm not going to do that until I have like a bigger following on YouTube. And when I get to about 3,000 subscribers, I guess that's when I'll give Andrew the call, you know? So I'm getting close, guys. I just released a couple videos, and they got a lot of views. They got a lot of subs. It's funny because, you know, like my views have been down like just a little bit, not really significantly. And I've been contemplating, you know, quitting the whole industry here, right? The firewood industry. Say about, well, quitting about maybe 90% of it, right? But now I'm getting these big views and stuff like that, right? So I want to keep doing it. There's no doubt about that, you know. A black bear tree care is here. You guys have seen him when we went and picked up some big oak, say it was a couple of months ago. And it was that big house, and we had to roll the wood up with the dolly, and we had he was cutting the base of the tree. The base of that tree was about 4 feet or so, right? Yeah, I just saw him yesterday. I just went and picked up some red oak, and he's getting all these jobs at these big these big homes, multi-million-dollar homes, right? So he's doing well with his business and getting a lot of good work, you know. So and then when we were down there yesterday, for the second time only, I actually saw some ironwood on the property, right? They were all small diameter, but it was like a ravine kind of going down in the back, and there was a bunch of red oaks. There was no sugar maple. There was a little bit of basswood, and then there was like these few ironwoods. So I actually only had one branch of it because all he did was some trimming. So yeah, let me know when you get some more wood, Black Bear. That's Aaron at Black Bear Tree Care. He operates in Toronto here. So if anybody needs some tree jobs done, then look him up, or you can get his number through me. Excuse me. James Bainton says, what you need is a 37D to make a guest appearance on one of your vids. That'll bring views. Yeah. Well, we'll get you back, James, when, you know, we have some nice weather now, so I don't know if that's going to be in the works. You know, the weather could change. But it's been a great January so far. This is probably one of the best Januaries on record. It's still 36 degrees today, and it's supposed to drop over the weekend, but it's going to be warm again next week. So who knows? Maybe you'll come in then, or maybe when my wood builds up, I'll just call you and say, "Hey, man, I need a hand. I'm getting overwhelmed here, right?" But I'm planning not to do that because I have my splitter that I built, and I want to maybe improve on that thing a little bit, right? But that can't split all my wood, but it does help. So, the whole thing about my wood yard, it's a little too small, but if I keep on top of the wood, I don't have to worry about the space. That's the thing, guys, like last year I had that wood pile that was like 85 feet long and 15 feet wide, and or maybe 20 feet at the most. And it was about 4 feet tall, like the whole pile, right? So, yeah, I wish I had repaired my splitter last year. Um, Black Bear says, my aunt took one look at the piece and said, "Oh, Kingswood." Yeah, man. So, yeah, going back to with the, Colleen says it's cold up there. Colleen's in Saskatchewan, where it's all like prairie land, so it's all flat. There's no trees, so if you have bad weather, it just blows right through there, and you get every piece of it, right? So, she says it's minus 13 Fahrenheit, minus 10. It's not that cold right now overall, but it'll get down to what, like minus 40, I guess, is your maximum down there. Um, Minus 30 is not a rare thing, and that would be so minus, if we get minus 40 Fahrenheit, I know that's minus 40 Celsius as well, right? So, yeah, that's like way below, you know what I mean? And that latitude where she's at is a lot further north than where I am. I believe you're in somewhat the southern part of the province, Colleen. I think that's how it goes. Our treasured home is here. Thank you for stopping in. I guess I met you over at is it Dave Collier Camping, or was it at Belt Loop 29? One of those channels. That's where I met. I think it was at Dave Collier's though. Pretty sure. But anyway, so going back to YouTube when I started, I've always wanted to create videos, and I like the idea of entertaining people and taking music and taking footage and doing all these funky things with them to make them appealing, and me as a person, I don't necessarily think about things in terms of if I'm interested, oh well, that's why I'll watch it. I'll watch something to see the quality or to see the information that's there. So even when I'm using YouTube music, a couple people have complained about the music that I have, but it's pretty hard, like trying to find copyright music. You know what I mean? And some of the stuff that I use is stuff that it's just kind of stuck in my head from music that I've been hearing in other YouTube videos from years back, right? Len Swan is in here. How you doing? You're a recent subscriber. Have you been around before? You've been around lately, but I think I remember your name from before anyway. It's hard to keep track of everybody because you don't see faces. I can kind of remember names, but yeah, it's just when you know all these people and you don't have their faces, then it's hard to tell, right? The Hogs Logs, how you doing? Mike here from Ohio, first time on your live stream. Enjoy your channel. Thank you very much, man. I love doing firewood and I love making videos. And I was just talking about how I got into YouTube. Colleen says we haven't hit minus 40 for a few years, but I don't want that either. Yeah, definitely. I don't like the cold. I don't like the heat. But anyway, so with YouTube, I just felt like, okay, well, maybe I'll try and put stuff up there, and yeah, you can make money off of it, right? So some people, they just film their job and they make their money that way, right? So I said, let me do that. So it was a cold day in January, and like I said, I don't like the cold. I can't split wood in the cold because my gloves just go frozen and my hands get frozen. Can't do it, But I had some videos from prior that I filmed without really the intention of going on YouTube, but saying, okay, I have these archived here, so I saved those, and then I went out and filmed a couple of videos. I did one about IBC totes, and I can't remember what the other one was. But yeah, I just said, okay, let me put these up, And actually, with one of the videos, I tapped into the Shorts algorithm, and that's when Shorts must have just released. Maybe Shorts started in January of 2021. I think so, because I didn't hear about Shorts till like long time later, you know what I mean? And then I started to get to understand it, and I tried to make shorts, and I made them in the portraits style instead of in the landscape format instead of the narrow portrait style. So I started to play with that, and then I started to do more, Um, okay, who else? Oh, Hogslog says he's in Belleville, Ohio. We have a Belleville here. It's about an hour and a half east of here. And I actually go fishing north of there. Funny thing, there's so many towns that have the same name as, the rural towns here in Ontario. So Joe's Firewood videos, I didn't hear from him. Joe's Firewood videos, he might show up in here at JPF. And he said he has people calling him, because he's in Orangeville, Michigan, which is, I don't know, maybe a couple hours west of Detroit. And he says that people from Orangeville, Ontario would call him up looking for firewood, right? And they don't notice that the area code is, it's not 905, it's not 705, whichever one. Those are two that are relatively in the same area, but they don't notice the different area code. They still call him, right? But I got to mention JPF because JPF and Daniel Atkins has his own channel too. They kind of brought me into the Woodhound community where I got to know everybody. So Daniel's been watching my channel for a very long time, pretty much since the beginning, and he's always been so friendly and so supportive of the channel. And he told me to come on to the Back 40 live stream, and he's a moderator on that channel, right? So he's part and parcel with that whole session that Dan, aka Shifty's got going on there. So he brought me into that circle, and I started to get to know everybody, you know what I mean? And Joe's Firewood videos, he messaged me one time and he says, I noticed that you comment on my videos, right? So come on in on the live stream and I'll mention your channel and I'll help you get some viewers, right? And get you some subscribers. So I went over there, and Sunday mornings, started hanging out with that group of woodhounds there, So I don't get to watch his channel much when he has it live stream, because Sunday morning I go see my little daughter, right? And then even if I'm not seeing her on that day, then I might have been up all night editing a video for Sunday, right? Because Sunday you get some views, So sometimes I'm like sleeping when his live stream is actually on, right? But I try and catch up, you know what I mean? I got to catch up with Daniel Atkins' channel too, and watch some of his videos, because he got a Wolfridge splitter. And Wolfridge Splitters, that's where they hold the Firewood Frenzy event, and that's in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, right? So he ordered his machine and he got his. So he's just using a Champion single wedge splitter before, and but he was still lucky because that he's out in Washington State, so they have all the softwood trees there, and I'd see him on site go to pick up wood, and it's like these big trees and these big rounds, right? But to get them in the truck, he break them down with a maul axe, right? The wood splits easy that way, so he just quarter all these logs or all these big rounds, like 3.5 feet with his axe. He just carry the axe in his truck, and then he'd load up his truck, right? And then he always had piles of wood, but now he's got that splitter and he's just eating through the wood like a lot faster, you know what I mean? Joe's a character. He loves a hater, Tim Stout says. Yeah. There's I think one of his videos he said he's the most hated firewood channel on the internet. That's funny. I don't really know the story why that's like that, but let's see, I'm missing some chats here. So Hogslog says it's Bellevue, Ontario, or Ohio, not Belleville. Go up to Bass Lake this year. Black Bear Tree Care says, is Bass Lake, is that the one that's north of Barrie? And that would be like maybe an hour and 20 minutes from here. That's not too far from where Andrew at Butler Outdoors Canada is, and I got to go visit him and do a collab video up there. He says there's the Copeland Forest up there that we got to go visit, and I'd like to go check that out because I like my trees. I like walking through the forest and stuff like that ever since I was a kid. And Then there's some type of stream there, and he says there's brook trout in there, and brook trout's pretty rare here, right? Like down and around the not just the city, but I mean that's a different story. There's none here. There might be the odd one here or there, but when you go up north past the cottage country, because we have a huge cottage country here, when you get past there, that's when you have some brook trout. You know, you have these little havens where you can get them, right? So they're pretty rare, but apparently, like the I guess the ministry is stocking fish there. So I was supposed to get out there this year, and haven't been able to yet. Hardware's Homestead, congrats on the 2 years. Thank you very much. Yeah, man, I've known you for a while here on YouTube, and I've seen some of your videos, and I like to keep up with everybody's videos, but you know, it's so hard. Like I know how many people on YouTube now. I must know like in the Woodhound community alone, it's probably like, you know, 300-400 people right there, right? So yeah, there's a lot of bases to cover. I mean, that's people, but some of those are channels, so a small amount are channels, right? Funkadelic says big brook trout in Lake Nipigon. Yes, I'd like to go up to Nipigon, and I remember watching a show called The Complete Angler, and the guy Don Lamont, he used to go up there and he used to fish for brook trout, right? You can also get them in the Great Lakes, in Lake Superior. They have what they call the coastal brookies, and there's a set of islands on the north shore of Lake Superior, and you can go up there. You can shoot over to the island from shore, and you can just fish around there, and you can get some nice brook trout there, right? They stock brook trout and splake here near Bancroft too. So splake is another name for brook trout is speckled trout, and so splake is a combination. It's a sterile species of lake trout mixed with the brook trout or the speckled trout, right? And yeah, so they don't reproduce; they just constantly restock. So you can keep, you know, they keep replenishing the supply, right? Goats, firewood, and farms. I live in walleye country. Nice. Well, we do here too. We have a lot of walleye fishing. We have an area called the Peterborough Kawarthas, which is starting from where I am. I'm like the one third in Toronto from the west side, right? So I'm like not south, I'm not north in Toronto, and I'm not at the center. I'm kind of like, you know, on say the city's in three parts, I'm kind of in the middle of where two parts meet, right? So if I go east and I go north, then I'll get into the Kawarthas, and we have a lot of walleye in the smaller lakes there. And then we have the deeper lakes that tend to have mostly walleye. The lakes here are mostly walleye, then there's pike, and we have muskie here too that are in some of the lakes, and we have them in some of the bigger, deeper lakes, but mainly a lot of the shallow lakes. And Lake of the Woods, which is up by Kenora, Ontario, and it's across from, it's near the western edge of Lake Superior. It's near the Manitoba border, and we share Lake of the Woods with the U.S. border, right? So the U.S. side has what's like the main lake basin. That's a huge part of the lake that's in the United States, and you can see with a border line actually, instead of cutting across, it shoots up, it cuts across the lake, and then it cuts back down. So the Canada side is a whole bunch of inlets, but the fishing is amazing out there. And why I mention that lake is because muskie's more like a warm water fish, and Lake of the Woods is like a huge deep lake, right? So I mean, they do thrive in lakes like that, right? But they're just known for being in the warmer lakes. But you know what's been happening here lately is the government's been stocking muskie like downtown, right? In downtown Toronto, like Lake Ontario. So somebody caught a muskie, a big muskie. It wasn't huge, but they caught one back in the summer. Yeah, back in the summer they caught one, right? I think it was like maybe 30 pounds or something like that, right? It was a good sized muskie. It actually looked like a tiger muskie. I thought that's what it was. And tiger muskie's a cross between pike and muskie, right? So you can tell because they have these distinct bars on the side of them, and the coloration just gives it away. They're usually a little more shorter, and they're a lot stockier than you know, pike. Pike tend to be more slender, and muskie, they tend to be full bodied, right? But the the tiger muskie, they look really short and stocky. Jeff Eli is here, another one of the Woodhounds. Congratulations on 2 years. Thank you very much, sir. Colleen's got to go. Yeah, thank you for calling. Thank you, Colleen, for saying to hit the thumbs up button. Hit the thumbs up button, guys, so this can get promoted out there and other people can see this. Okay, Black Bear Tree Care says up in Bob Cajun. Okay, yeah, maybe I'll try and come up there, man. You know, there's all kinds of places that I want to go, some YouTubers that I want to see. And Bob Cajun is in the Peterborough Kawarth areas, and it's one of the deeper lakes, as much as it's not a deep lake at all. It's a sizable lake up there, and if you guys know the band The Tragically Hip and their song Bob Cajun, that's what it's about. It's about enjoying the cottage country life up there, and the singer is basically saying how, you know, he's got this job in Toronto, but you know he wants to spend his time with his woman up in the country instead of going to work. You know what I mean? Anybody know that song? Who knows that song? The Tragically Hip, Bob Cajun. It's a Canadian classic, you know? Hardware's Homestead says, we have some of the best trout fisheries in the world here in Arkansas. I didn't know that. Isn't the biggest smallmouth... No, the biggest smallmouth is not Arkansas. It's Dale's Hollow in Tennessee. That's where it comes from. I'm a smallmouth fisherman. So that's what I go for. So seeing that record is, I think it's a 10.48 pounds. I think that's what it is, right? But yeah, I mean, that's a huge smallmouth, man. But we're getting close here because Ontario, the smallmouth fishing, has become phenomenal here in the Great Lakes and Lake Simcoe. Simcoe they call like not Simcoe, sorry, Lake St. Clair is what they call like the sixth Great Lake. It's between Lake Huron, where it feeds into the Detroit River. It's a lake that's bigger than like Lake Simcoe, what we have here. So it's just another part of the system, and they have some really good fishing there. But yeah, the smallmouth here at Lake Simcoe, and Lake Simcoe's half an hour from here, and then, you know, people are getting 8-pounders out of there, right? Even down here, Lake Ontario, I remember talking to a guy at the Humber River, and he was telling me a story about how he was there and his girlfriend was there and she was bugging him and stuff, and you know, leave me alone, let me fish. And we're fishing for salmon, or sorry, he was fishing there for salmon at the time, right? And he said he got an 8-pound smallmouth on his line, right? That's insane, man. You know, the most I've got probably is about 6 pounds. Funkadelic says, you're welcome to come and fish anytime. Sure, man. Hey, look in my description box and send me an email, right? Yeah, and I'll get your phone number, and then we can go from there. And I'm always in the mood for a road trip, you know, even to go fishing. I have a boat, so I can bring the boat if we're not doing any shore fishing, you know. Tony Bologna, Cheese, and Macaroni is here. Wanted to stop in and say congrats on the anniversary, Anthony. Thank you for coming out, man. It's been good times chatting with you and talking about all the different things that we do. You know, even talking about, you know, what happened here in our nation's capital last year, right? It's been almost a year since, right? I'm not going to use certain keywords, you know, but a lot of you guys, a lot of the Woodhounds, you know, we're on the same side of understanding of the way things are going these days. And you know, we know what's right, and we know how we're being infringed upon and everything. It was nice to be able to speak with like-minded people and then have the whole world watch Canada, what was going on there, you know. And that moment, you know, with everybody gathering in the cold, which is minus 20 degrees Celsius, and I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit. That might be, I don't know, minus 20, minus 25, minus 30 Fahrenheit. Something like that. But I'd never seen so much love in this country, you know what I mean? Where would you see where it's like absolutely freezing and, you know, everybody's just out there hugging each other and they're not going anywhere, you know? So that was a good time. It was nice to have you guys commenting, and you know, I put out a couple of videos myself. I try to stay under the radar, but you know, I wanted to put some stuff out there for people to see what was going on. And it was one of the biggest things that were searched at the time, you know, and everybody was kind of looking at Canada and saying, hey, we feel sorry for you guys, man. You know, go out and fight for your autonomy, you know. Um, let's see. Tim Stout says would like to ship Biden up north to Canada. Well, LOL. Yeah, we don't want him here, man. We've got our own version up here, right? So, they're very different people, but we've got somebody playing along the same lines and being pulled by the same strings, right? So very unfortunate what's going on because I've always known about what's going on and what's planned for the future, and I always thought that the United States would be plunged into the old T word, right, or the C word, before Canada, and Canada would kind of follow along. But it seems like we're just keeping up to par. You know what I mean? Yeah, Jeff, they could use them out there, I guess. They're side by side in terms of a lot of things anyway. But yeah, you see, we've been sold this idea that we outsource everything, then it's going to make our lives better here, right? But because cars are made in Mexico, because we have Walmart, because we have all these things, it's like, do we have this prosperity? Not prosperity that they promise. That would be wrong to say like that. But do we just not complain about the money in our pocket because we've been benefiting off of Walmart and stuff like that, right? So that's what people need to see. People need to look at the circumstances and say, okay, well, what have we been told, and how are things are? This is 2023 now, and it's like, okay, people want to live, people want to survive, and not only that, I mean, that's bare minimum, right? People want to thrive, and we've been sold that dream for how long? And where's that dream, right? Some people have it, yes, but somebody told me something interesting. Some people I'm 45, right? So there's people who have been around, say, 10, 20, 30 years before me, right? Some of these people say, if you didn't make your money in the 80s, then, you had a hard time making your money after that, right? Because there's a lot of easy money, and I've heard plenty of people say those stories, right? But now today what's happening is there's the internet is giving way to lots of opportunities, but it's also like a double-edged sword because everybody in the internet hears about what's going on, so everybody floods what's going on there, right? My friend who helped me out kind of start this channel and give me some basics, he told me that he's been making money on the internet for years, and they like everything was good for a long time, but then as the internet got more prevalent, then people started copying his ideas, and he had to keep reinventing himself, right? And then not only that, with the whole demonetization thing and the censorship, he actually took his channel down. He had 50,000, I think he got to 60,000 subscribers, excuse me, and he took his channel down, because he says, okay, well, if he didn't need it for the money, he wasn't making money off of it. So he says, well, if they're going to not let me make money off my videos, why am I going to have my videos up for YouTube to use so that they can make their own money off of it, right? So unfortunately, this platform and many others are siding with certain people through the powers that be, and that's who's influencing them. And they're not they're not platforms of free living anymore, The Hogs Logs, Jordan Peterson is a great Canadian fighting for your rights. Yes, he is, and he's in the news lately because the Association of Psychologists want to basically bring him in for retraining because they don't like how he's speaking against certain things, and all he's doing is speaking the truth. And some people, they don't want to hear the truth. They just think that if they're on this side, that they're saved and everything's good, and they don't realize the decrepit path that is happening because of all these new ideals and everything, right? I mean, I just saw a video yesterday about how in Gary, Indiana, there's a baby drop box. So if you don't want your baby, you can just pull up to the center. There's like a big door that you can open, pull it down, and you can put your baby in there and abandon your baby, right? Now, people say, the people who are siding, who are on that with those politics, they're missing a lot of things, right? Okay, so you don't want to have your baby, you want to, say give it up, you don't want to do certain things, right? You're in a position where you have your options are very few, right? Some of them are very extreme, which you wouldn't want to do, might land you in jail, right? But okay, I understand people are in a position where they don't know what to do, and they will do something wrong because of it, right? So ideally, it's a good idea if you want to, make sure the baby is taken care of, if even if you're in the wrong, right? Okay, but the thing is, when you have those options for people, that gives people options to think about doing instead of being the responsible person and doing what you have to do in the first place, right? And that's what's wrong with today is so many people are taking on these new things and just saying, okay, well, it's just okay if we do it like this. And we're going to end up in failure here, right? We're losing our morality, we're losing our all the words associated with that, right? We're losing our patience, all those things, you know what I mean? And we're just trying to help out ourselves and make our lives problem free. And that's not how it works, because the laws of nature is the laws of nature. You can't get around them, and subconsciously we know what the laws of nature are, right? Um, some people are mentioning prices of stuff here. On a live stream last night, someone said a dozen eggs in Arizona was $7.49. Guys, you know what happened here? So we have, the cheaper grocery stores, we have the expensive grocery stores, right? Like the mainstream ones. So are like the odd grocery store that they're more expensive, but we have we have really big companies running like just a few of the grocery stores here, right? So somebody went and they posted something with a price of, I think it was 6 chicken breasts, okay, and it went viral, and it caused a big stink because this store called Metro, they were charging $37.03 Canadian for 6 chicken breasts, okay. Like, how can you even justify that? So that's over. Now we pay tax here too. I'm pretty sure there would be tax on the item. Almost everything that we have here, we pay 13% tax, right? There's really not much things. It's not almost zero, but there's a bunch of things that we don't pay for tax. But it's just generally when you're going on spending, you're paying tax on like everything. As much as there are those exemptions, like you're looking at paying sales tax here, right? Nothing to depend on that you're not paying the tax, right? So 37, that would be maybe $31 US for 6 chicken breasts, guys. Like, how can you even try that, man? How can you say that you're, as a corporation, you care about your customers, It's time for a refill. Okay, so I'm back, and I could talk about the issues of today for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, because I'm well researched. But we got to keep it on topic here. We got to keep it on point, right? So I don't want to turn off viewers. Can't please everybody, but a lot of people come because there's firewood talk. Some people, they're not interested in politics. Some people have different politics, right? So got to keep it on point here. Some people unsubscribe if I don't talk about anything about firewood. And for the other channels out there, sometimes you experience people unsubscribing, and they'll do that just because you post a video that's not, the content that you have, right? I saw a channel and they do milling and stuff, and then the guy has a live stream with his wife. It's the Matthew Cremona sawmilling channel. And I saw somebody wrote a comment and they said, "Oh, I'm unsubscribing because I don't want to see you live streaming sitting on your laptop at a desk drinking wine with your wife," right? So how about just tune out and come back another time to see the sawmilling, He live streams like, I don't know, once a month, if that, right? So anyways, so back to firewood and reflecting on last year. Yeah, so I did a little bit of nature tourism, and I didn't do too much wood last year. So I'm actually behind right now, and the move kind of affected me too, right? And plus, this was a hot summer, guys, so I wasn't able to split a lot of wood this year, man, And then I've been having issues with the neighbor who doesn't like the noise there, but he's not supposed to be living there, right? So I would still want to talk to him and try and get an agreement with him, and But he's just playing hard to get now because he's upset about me making noise, right? And yeah, I don't know. I tried to go and talk to him a while back because of what was happening, and I think somebody else there was acting like he wasn't there. That was mom calling, but I can't answer the phone right now. That's the thing, right? Um, I told her to tune into the live stream, but because it failed, she doesn't realize that, okay, I signed back up to go on the live stream, right? But yeah, I just can't take the call now because it might screw up the live stream again. So I definitely won't be doing that again. Black Bear Tree Care is big on freedom. Yes, man. So I was out there at the nation's capital freezing my butt off. Tim Stout says, that's just crazy. You don't watch that video then. I do it all the time. Exactly. You know, like maybe you don't want to watch everything. Who says if I make something that you're going to want to watch every single video, right? Jeff Eli says, I like your tree identification videos. Jeff, not very popular, man. Look at my view count on some of those videos. Like the most I might have on one video is like 500, right? I've shared some of them on like tree groups with Facebook, right? But I don't get many views. And if I release anything that's slightly related to firewood or non-firewood, I just don't get views, man. My fishing videos, my scrap metal videos, the tree ID, right? The boating, the nature tourism, right? I just don't get good views on those guys, but I like doing them. They're the videos that take me the longest to make. Up to 30 hours, some of those videos, right? But people don't watch them, man. I mean, most people are, I'm not expecting so many people to be interested in how to identify trees, but I don't just go out to identify trees and I just go, okay, here's this. I try to go somewhere nice, like I go up into cottage country here, right? And I go by where there's waterfalls and I go by where there's a lookout over one of the cottage towns, right? There's the town's in between two lakes, and then the river, the Muskoka River, is passing into the lake. It's going to the other side of the lake and running in town and then out into the other lake, right? And there's a lookout right above everything. So you see part of the town anyway. You see part of the town down there. And then sometimes you see boaters in the channel and they're going out to the main lake and everything like that, right? So I try to make them interesting with the sights and stuff like that. But yeah, I like doing the Tree Eye videos. I'm going to be looking for a new place to go next year. Actually, I have a place in mind. So we have Algonquin Park here, which is this giant government park for camping, and I think I found the lookout where I have been before, and so I want to revisit it again. I'm pretty sure it's that place, right? But I want to revisit that place, and it's not too far out of Muskoka and where I've done the other videos, right? It's even closer to the last spot I went. So what I've been doing is I've been going to the lookout in Huntsville and to the waterfalls in High Falls. And this year for the Tree ID video, I went to Dorset, which is the eastern side of Muskoka. The other two places are kind of like central Muskoka, and this place was like east. So I had to drive around Lake of Bays, which is like a big lake, and then I went to this place called Dorset, and they have a fire tower there where they use it to look out and see where like any forest fires are out in that region, right? So it's a very steep hill there. It's like the ground is very steep in certain places, right? It's not like a lot of places here in Ontario, right? But yeah, just very high elevation, and then you have to drive up this hill. You wind through the roads first, and you have to drive up this hill, and then you get to the peak, and then it's like a driveway around, and then there's this 100-foot tall steel tower made out of angle iron and mesh, like a round rod mesh, right? And so you can walk up this staircase and you get to the top, and then it's enclosed too, like it has mesh all around on the inside, and you can only fit about maybe 12, 13, 14 people inside. So you kind of got to wait for everybody to walk up as you go up, and then you come down, and you get up to the top, and you can see 800 square kilometers around, which is about 500 square miles, right? and you could see the Lake of Bays is way down there, one section of it anyway, right? But you can just look all around, and there's nothing in the way. Like I said, that area is hilly, but then a lot of what's around there is not very hilly at all, right? So you can see quite far up there, you know. And it's a little scary for me because I'm not big on heights, but if I'm secure, that I can do what you're secure in. If you're not secure and you're just free to fall or whatever, that's what I don't like, you know. So I saw somebody else came in here. Will Davidson, aka WD30, is in here. Thank you for coming in. Chuck at Iron and Oak Sawmill is here. How you doing, guys? Thanks for stopping in. Chuck and his wife Deb, they run a sawmilling channel, and they're down in Pennsylvania. They've got an Easton made. They've got a 1222 machine. And for those that don't know, like so many people in the United States, they have the Easton made machines, right? I've seen so many on so many channels. I've seen even so many guys who don't actually own a Easton made, but they've had one dropped off, right? Actually, last year, Buck and Billy Ray had one dropped off to him in BC, right? He had the Axis, the Easton made Axis, which is like a guillotine style splitter. So what you do is it has like a big table, and it has like a log lift on one side, and then you can attach a conveyor to it if you want. And then basically the guillotine, it's operated by a foot pedal, and you just hold around there under the blade, and you just use your foot and activate the splitter, so the thing just comes down. So you can just hold the wood like this. You can turn it as you're using it, turn it every time you're splitting, right? And it's a very fast machine. There's not many machines that are vertical out there, but yeah, Andrew at Easton Made, he decided to build that machine. I've seen on Easton Made, sorry, not Easton Made, there's on Outdoors with the Morgans channel. That's a huge like homesteading channel, and I saw they got one of the Quebec machines. I can't remember what it's called. Anybody know what that splitter is? The blue machines where you can operate it with 2 people, and it has its own drive gear, so you can actually drive it around. And it's another vertical style splitter, right? So he had one dropped off to him, and I guess how he learned about that one was when he was at Paul Bunyan show. So I wanted to meet Mike over there at at the Paul Bunyan show. And speaking of Outdoors with the Morgans, if you guys didn't see one of his videos, he mentioned my video, right? I did the video about if you want to start a firewood business, and he featured my video on that because I made a lot of good points, right? And I saw that on his channel. I'm not sure if it was before or after I kind of did my style of video, where he was talking about, you know, looking at cost, looking at how your operation is set up, looking at these certain things, factoring things, calculating, doing all these things, and giving people understanding of certain things, you know. And yeah, that helped me get a lot of views, man. You know, that's definitely a memorable moment when a channel with, you know, at the time he had about 270,000 subscribers at the time, and my video got pumped out on that channel, and that was like a big break for me, you know. Someone else new is in here. 82 F100 SWB, all of those places down south where I've never been. How you doing, man? You must be new here. I don't remember your username. Yeah, Hardware's Homestead says the Woodhound's showing up. Yeah, the Woodhound community, guys. Bent Wedge, Stanley Brand is here. How you doing, Stanley? Where are you again, Stanley? Are you're in the Northeast, I think you are, something like that, or the East Coast? Somewhere between Massachusetts and Maine or something like that, if memory serves me right. Chuck says, how you doing? I'm doing good, man. Yeah, I just saw your video there with cutting up all that red oak and splitting. I guess that wood was dry. They needed some firewood, so you had that oak sitting around for a while, maybe. But yeah, I'm sure you're loving that Easton made 1222. I saw when Tribe was there and you were using that thing, and you guys cleaned up a lot of wood in a short amount of time. Split Forest, is that what it is, Will Davidson? Oh, sorry, that's right. Yeah, no, Stanley, yeah, he's in Pequot, Ohio. Yeah, because you always used to write that, hello from Pequot, Ohio. when you're watching my videos. Yeah, that's right. Jeez, it's so hard to keep track of everybody, man. You know, so many guys. But hey, I love you guys, man. It's been fun meeting you guys and interacting with you, and I've learned a lot from you guys and all the different Firewood channels. I've definitely uh, gained a lot from knowing the community. I like when people are social. I like when people are coming from all over the place and they get to know each other. It's a very interesting group of people, man. And then even I get a lot of invites from people they say, hey, come on down here, man. I got a room for you to stay. I got like a whole apartment for you to stay. You want to move out here, right? All that stuff, man. So, and I'm a road trip type of guy, right? So that'd be fun, man. Right? I've met so many random people for, you know, um, all kinds of reasons, right? It doesn't matter. I'll come by and have a beer with anybody, man. Get a fire going, stuff like that. That's called grassroots living, man. Let me see. Will Davidson says Split Force is the one that Mike has, and he did a video today with it. Okay, yeah, so yeah. Sometimes I watch Outdoors with the Morgans videos, and yeah, I didn't see today's video, but every now and then I'll catch those. Yeah, anybody has a question for me, just type in QQQ, right, or use a number of Qs, whatever, and then that's directed to me. But I mean, I don't have enough chats where I can't keep track of everything, right? But yeah, if there's a lot of chatting going on and you want to ask me a question specifically, yeah, just type in QQQ. But we don't really need to do that here. There's not, like I said, there's not many people in the chat. Eugene Kim is here. Um, Congrats, brother. Thanks a lot, man. We're good friends since 1997, I guess, man. We met in 1996 at school, and we're good friends. He lives close by. And usually I spend, Christmas or New Year's, they got a little social gathering. That's what we do, right? But, yeah, man, long time. Me and him been friends. KW, congrats on 2 years, Anthony. Thank you very much. Thanks for stopping in tonight. Tony Bologna, cheese and macaroni. Anthony, that ringtone is fire. Ringtone? Which one? Oh, you heard it. Oh, okay. Yeah, the Digital Underground, man. Hey, Eugene, that's my ringtone. Freaks of the Industry, by Digital Underground. They're the group that did the Humpty Dance back in the day. If anybody knows knows that song. And actually, Tupac was actually a part of that group at that time, right? And that's basically where Tupac got his um his start on his fame, right? And then the band Digital Underground, they got big also too. Like they were already big within the community, but then they were in the soundtrack for the movie. What's it called? Somebody remind me. It's with Dan Aykroyd, Demi Moore, and who else is in it? I can't remember. Someone remind me. Yeah, someone please remind me. Yeah, Eugene. Yeah, Pete loves that song, man. Pete knows about that. Pete's another one of our friends from high school, and I'm not surprised if he shows up here tonight. He checks out my videos here and there. Um, Same song Tupac was on. No, he wasn't in that song, but he was in All Around the World, the same song, and that's the song from that movie. What was it? What was it called, man? Somebody look it up. Nothing But Trouble. There it is. Joseph Grant. Yeah, Shock G, right? The big nose actor. Yeah, Nothing But Trouble. That was the movie. Who else was in it? Dan Aykroyd, Demi Moore, and I can't remember, man. It wasn't Chevy Chase. But yeah, that was kind of a little help out for that band, and really boosted the careers of those artists there, right? Um, yeah, was Jim Belushi in that movie? I can't remember. It was Chevy Chase. Yeah, that's right, man. That's right. It was Chevy Chase. Yeah. Huh. Yeah, I remember him growing up and watching all the National Lampoon and all those movies and stuff like that, right? So they had a good little string of comedy going on there. Where was I? Going back to this year. or last year, sorry. What else about last year? Well, I'm gonna make a recap video, that's for sure. John Candy, did he have a cameo in there? I wouldn't be surprised. He's part of that circle, right? Yeah, this year, or last year, sorry, I'm gonna do a recap video and talk about the highlights. One of them, of course, being the spotlight of my video on Outdoors with the Morgans. Doing what I like, which does, like I said, doesn't get much viewed, is the Nature Walk Tree ID video, and then my nature tourism, so like the Niagara Falls, and also the scenic caves. And yeah, if you guys haven't seen the Niagara Falls video, like I went and I toured the original power plant that was designed by Nikola Tesla, and I went and I did a little segment on this statue of him, which is, he's there with this long coat. It looks like it's kind of blowing in the wind or whatever, and he's got his cane and he's staring right at the falls, right? But the old power plant there, they restored it and they turned it into a museum. This plant is right beside the Canadian Falls, just above the falls, right? So it was really interesting going into that building. And then what they did was the drainage tunnel that drained the turbines, they turned it into a tourist attraction. So while you're in the museum, you go into the elevator, and it's a glass elevator. It goes down beside one of the turbine shafts. So you see like the different sections, and you see the flanges with all the bolts all around them, and they're all rusted and everything. And then you get down, and then you walk down this 2,200-foot tunnel, and they've got like, they made the lighting look like old school, like work lighting, right? It's not like modern, like bright LED and this and that. They made it look like as if, like, you know, somebody's working there, right? Or they have like a team working there and they just put up temporary lighting. But you walk down this tunnel, you can't see the end because it's going along the curved structure of the escarpment, right? Up there, so the power plant is above the falls, and the falls kind of curls around one side. And basically that whole curvature is what you're walking along. So you don't see the end of the tunnel when you start, but you walk a good, like, you know, maybe 7 minutes down, and then finally you see the end of the tunnel. It's just like a bright blue light at the end, right? And it just expands and expands, and it gets brighter and brighter as you go along until finally you walk out, and then you're right at the edge of the river, and then you can see the Niagara Falls Canada side, and then you can see the US further downstream, right? But yeah, is this just because I know about Nikola Tesla, and I know the history of the region with Niagara, where they had a lot of the battles with the, not, I shouldn't say a lot of the battles, where they had you know, defense and stuff like that, and they battled with the US and, you know, the indigenous people who lived there originally, and he used Niagara Falls strategically, you know, for certain purposes and stuff like that, right? It's just the whole history about that region is very interesting to me, you know. So I used to be, well, not used to be, but I like ancient history, and, you know, the history these days is not, it's not as epic, I guess you could say. They have their moments where they are, but it's like, you know, we're looking at, you know, back in the days with the Romans and with the Greeks and all these things, they had these minimal abilities, but they or resources, but they were able to do so much with the little that they had, right? Like the Romans created an aqueduct and, excuse me, the big armies and everything like that, right? How they were able to conquest so far, you know, and then in recent times, it's almost like, I mean, we had the Dark Ages too, right? But it just seems like things didn't really progress that much, say like, you know, 1,000 years ago and 500 years ago. But then when we started finding out technology, that's when great inventions started happening and everything, right? And then we kind of moved into the industrial revolution, and then, you know, what we have today with, you know, stores, with electricity, with lighting, with technology, with cell phones, with cars, with everything, right? You know, with oil and gas, you know, all these things that have really progressed us and made us look like, you know, what happened, you know, hundreds of years ago was like nothing. It wasn't anything worth really understanding, right, or worth appreciating, right? But yeah, Niagara Falls is just insane. And then the other place I went was Scenic Caves, and it's a part of the Niagara Escarpment. So when I say the Niagara Escarpment, it's old school, from, I guess, the Ice Age, when there was a big lake around the Great Lakes, And basically the Great Lakes now are what is like the bottom of what was this big lake, right? I think this is more specifically like with Lake Ontario or whatever. Well, no, not just Lake Ontario, because the escarpment, it's not just around Niagara. This goes up to like Lake Huron, right? So it's kind of like this ridge that just travels north, and it runs along the side of Lake Huron, and not in the part that's connected with the U.S. and like Lake Michigan, but Georgian Bay, which is like a section of Lake Huron, right? That's what we're more familiar with here. That's like north of me. The other part of like the Lake Huron, that the main lake basin, that's kind of like meeting with Sarnia. And what's the other town on the border across from Sarnia, guys? Can you help me out there? What's it called? I can't remember, but yeah, we're not too familiar being from Toronto and this part of Ontario, right? That western section is like a different section for us here, you know? But anyways, the escarpment rides all the way up there, and on the top edge, up by Georgian Bay, you can see the whole section, which is the southern part of Georgian Bay. It's called the Nottawasaga Bay, right? And we have Canada's longest, or sorry, North America's longest sand beach up there. And, or no, it's the world's longest freshwater beach there. And you can go up to the top of the escarpment. You can see this whole bay below you. Then the town of Collingwood is down below. But then when you're up at the top of the escarpment there, the scenic caves is a piece where the Niagara escarpment broke off and it created this cavern system within, right? So you can walk through all these caverns, and they built in all these narrow staircases and everything, right? And it was really interesting going through that system, because I know I have been there as a kid, right? Let's go back to the chat here. Yeah, Chuck says that tour of Niagara was amazing. Yeah, no, yeah, I asked you before if you watched that. I remember we did chat about that way back when, the last live stream we were talking about it. But yeah, I remember when I had the video out. I remember we were talking about it. Yeah, Jeff Eli says he really liked that video. I like the editing. I like the music. I like how I put it together. Of course, I'm going to look at it and say, well, I could have done it better, you know. But it is what it is, man. You know, you put the time in, then you want to get it released, and that's what I did. But it's just, I really enjoyed making that video, and I really enjoy going there. And I don't know, I like it for a lot of reasons. It's the water as a fisherman. You know, they have the forest, and I like exploring the forest there. But I haven't been down into the Niagara Gorge. So next time I go there in the fall, I'm going to actually walk down what they call Glen Gorge, which is basically the river below the both falls, right? So that'd be interesting to walk down there. I think, did they say, somebody told me they have like an elevator or something that you can get down? Because I was always wondering, like it's pretty high up. It's 150 feet or whatever, but obviously when you go down, it's not like just walking straight and going 150 feet down. But they have some type of apparatus there, I think, where you can get down to the bottom of the gorge, right? So yeah, next year I'm gonna do that tour, and I'm also gonna do the journey behind the falls, which is the tunnel system that literally goes behind Niagara Falls, right? So I'm gonna do that next year. Going back to my tree ID video, I forgot that to finish the story, that there's that lookout in Algonquin Park. So I'll drive into the park and I'll do my tree ID as I walk up to that trail. It's right off the main highway, Highway 60. And you can just go in like a kilometer, and then you can get to that lookout. So I'll do my tree ID videos, my next one out there. And then for the year after, well, I got almost 2 years to figure out the next place. But there's plenty of places in Muskoka to look there. Actually, there's another place where there's another waterfalls. It's kind of like a chute, and it just kind of goes through all these really craggy rocks, and it just kind of twists and it goes down. It's almost like a water slide kind of layout, right? But that's another spot that I'll consider doing my videos. And I got to get a drone for next year, because it's always nice to have the drone with the forest, right? My first drone, the footage was all choppy and everything, and the drone controls were choppy, and the color would distort, right? And I had to learn about doing about setting the frames per second at a high frame rate, so that I could get some really good footage, and I could slow down the footage, you know? what else happened this year? I'd have to maybe scroll through my video list. Let me see if I could do that. And yeah, I'll do that, and I'll see what else is worth mentioning. And then all this stuff I'm gonna do in like my recap, right? Just recently, I met another firewood retailer out at the creek where I went to fish for rainbow trout. I didn't catch anything. He didn't catch anything. I got there late in the day, but he was across the pool, and I was just chatting with him, and he says, "Oh yeah, I sell firewood too." So I might actually go buy some hickory off of him. And because I can hardly ever get hickory, so I want to buy a batch from him and then put it for sale. Let's see, going through. So tree IDs, I did 4 tree identification videos this year. I did honey locust, silver maple, sugar maple, and red oak. And about 5 minutes from where I live, there is a huge bur oak, and I want to show you that, guy. I want to show you that tree, guys. This tree is probably about, like, if you just look, I'm not talking about diameter, but if you just look at the tree, I think from one side to the other, it's like six feet wide, right? And my friend grew up there, and he told me that tree was big, right? When, like, my earlier days of firewood, he was saying, "Well, what about that tree just down the road from his house, right?" And I was like, I didn't really notice that was a big tree. Like, I mean, I did, but I never really thought about it. But then finally, I drove by there, and then I was like, wow, look how big that tree is, man. There's big controversy because the builders, sorry, the owners, they want to cut down the tree, or not cut down the tree. They want to trim off the side of the tree so that they can fit the new house in there, because these are like the old war homes, like the post-war homes that they built, which are small. You know, it's back when people had one car, and you know, it wasn't these bigger houses that they started building in the later decades, right? So you know, there a lot of them are bungalows, or a lot of them, they might have like 2 bedrooms upstairs, right? Maybe 3 bedrooms, but a lot of smaller houses. And so what people are doing in Toronto in general is they're buying up these old properties for like $1 million, you know, like 800,000 US, and then they're flipping them after like doing a rebuild, right? And then they're getting, you know, like, you know, maybe up to a couple $1 million, right? It's not a big property that the houses are on, you know, they just build this really nice house there, and it keeps happening, right? So these houses, yeah, they're like, you know, about 70 years old. Is it more than that? So 50s, yeah, they're roughly 70 years and change, right? And they're getting old, a lot of them. They're not that old, right? But you know, here we have a lot of the older Victoria homes that are closer to like the downtown core, that, you know, are built way before that, and those are getting pretty old too. But in the suburbs, like, these houses are getting knocked down like crazy, and they're just putting up these nice big fancy new houses. You know, the rectangular style with the long rectangular windows, and you know, like the charcoal colors and stuff like that, right? And you know, all these funky things, all this like the champagne colored like brick and everything, right? Just these colossal homes, and they're raising the property value, so the people who paid for their houses and they grow up there and now they're elderly and they're living in their house, they can't afford to live there anymore because the property taxes have gone up so much, you know. So it's very frustrating. And of course, you have all the noise with all the building all the time, right? Let me see, what else did I do this year? So I got the log splitter fixed this year, the Beast, which I just named recently in the last video, the Beast and Made. And I wish I had got that thing sorted out last year, but I didn't know it was going to cost me only $600, right? I thought I might have had to do like a redesign. So last year I had that huge wood pile, and it would have been really nice to have that splitter at that time, you know. What else? I went salmon fishing last year, didn't catch anything because my rod broke. um, Let me see, I did some boat touring downtown. Obviously, I did my smallmouth bass fishing trips. One trip was okay, one trip was kind of good, but nothing special. Um, I put out a video that's from a PBS Nova, and it was about the B-29 bomber. That's the style of bomber that dropped the atomic bomb, and these guys went to restore it. It had crash landed in Greenland, which is like northern Canada, like the Arctic, and these guys put some money together, and well, there's one main guy who put the money together. He was a former U-2 spy plane pilot, and he put together money in a team to go in and restore this plane on site and install new engines and everything and get it done. And it's very short season up there, right? Extremely short season. So is my phone not charging here? I just got a low battery warning, so we might have to. Oh, now it's charging. Okay, that's too bad, man. So this tree might not last long. I'm gonna preserve some time with it, right? But yeah, very frustrating, these phone chargers. But anyways, these guys with the phone, with the plane, they went to restore the plane and fly it out of there, right? So I'm not going to tell you what happens with the whole story and give it away, but watch that video. It's called B29 Frozen in Time. And the algorithm's liking that lately. I released it, 3 months ago or something, and it's really pumping that into the algorithm now for whatever reason. That's what happens. Sometimes you put out a video and you get a bunch of views at the beginning, and then it dies off after a couple days, and then you get the odd view here and there. But then every once in a blue moon, you get a video that just starts taking off, and it's back in the algorithm again, right? I had that happen to me with one of my first videos. Well, about 3-4 months in, I made the video, and then over the last fall, I started getting like 150 views a day, right? Normally I get like maybe 13, 14, 15 views a day, and then it's died down again, right? This year, the big move with the wood yard. Well, let me go back to the chats. Yeah, let's not miss the chats here. Yeah, okay. So those who don't learn their history are doomed to repeat it. That's right, man. And from my understanding of history, I've heard what's been done, and I see the same thing happening now, and everything is in patterns. When you don't know about things, you start to understand, or everything seems like it's all up in the air, like anything can happen, right? Anything could be anything. But then if you start learning about things, then you start seeing patterns, and something speaks out to you, right? It's something that triggers you. It's in your brain. It's there. You've come across it, right? It's like, say you've seen some type of item before, and then you come across something that looks like it. It's going to trigger you because it's there. So the events of recent times, since 2020, let's say, yeah, it's very triggering about what's been going on. So straight up, if you don't know your history, history is in cycles too, guys. That's the thing. History is in cycles, and things aren't as random as we think they are. There's not a million different scenarios when you're looking at a basic level, right? Stuff stands out, and it's been repeated and repeated and repeated, and it's this common psychology. It's common by behavior. It's life getting nice, and it's life going bad, right? And that's all it is. Tim Stout says he liked that video. Yeah, the Niagara Falls video. Yeah, man. And Jay Dubbing 98 says I caught some nice smallies in Stony Lake out your way years ago. Yeah, Stony Lake. I call it Landmine Lake. And because there's so much rocks in there, it's literally called Stony Lake because of all the rock islands. It's like not like a maze, but it's just these tiny islands everywhere. And then even when there's not an island, there's just shallow areas everywhere, right? So I hardly use the gas motor at all, and we just putt around. My friend and I, we went there one time. We started at the bottom at the top of Cachewanuka Lake. We went all the way up Clear Lake and fished the shore. Then we got into Stony Lake, and then we got over to Burley Falls. We were actually fishing right in Burley Falls. And yeah, going through Stony Lake, it was no fun. We actually had the boat right up on a rock. I was just putting. I was just in idle speed because, you can't just motor around there, right? We're still kind of looking for a place to fish, so we weren't looking to travel distance. And we're just putting along and almost like going with the current pretty much. And, then the boat's like bottomed out, right? I didn't hit the prop or anything, but it just, there you are on a rock, and you got to get the oar out, and you got to push yourself off. You got to, have both people in the boat move and put the weight on one part of the boat so that the other the part on the rock can lift up, and then you can push yourself out of there, right? But that's where the Fish in Canada guys like grew up. They grew up going to Stony Lake, man. So they really know that lake system really well. They know all the Kawarthas, but Stony Lake is like their roots, you know. Um, I like to fish the Kawartha lakes more, but I don't like how they're so shallow. I don't like how, like certain lakes like Stony Lake, they're rocky and they're too busy. This is close cottage country for us here. So everybody's up there. Like if you're living in Toronto and you're going to the Kawarthas, like, I mean, starting in an hour, right? That's close. So our cottage driving is people will usually drive like, say maybe 2, 3 hours to go to their cottage, right? Or if they want to rent a cottage. Some people, of course, they don't live in Toronto. Say they live down by Hamilton or Niagara, which is further away from here. They'll go and they'll travel. So they'll come around the Golden Horseshoe of Lake Ontario. Then they'll keep going east, and then they'll get up into the cottage country, right? There's no cottage country like not with the lakes, anyways. Like in the west of Ontario, it's like when you get north of Toronto, and a little bit west when you get up there, which is like the Georgian Bay shore, like the Lake Huron shore. But most of our cottage country with the lakes is north, everything north and east of Toronto, right? So you have some people that live far out west or whatever. They live down south in the Niagara Hamilton region, and Hamilton's like between Toronto. So if you go around Lake Ontario and you're going to Niagara Falls, Hamilton's like at the end of Lake Ontario, right? The west end of Lake Ontario. So you have people that will come from all over, and they still do that traveling. They do like their 4 or 5 hour drive sometimes. And then of course you have people who they leave, say from even Toronto again, and then they go really far. They go past like cottage country, the main cottage country, right? And they go to where it's really remote. But the Kawarthas, it's I guess you could call it, if you looked at Ontario, like say it's like New York, and Kawarthas is like the Times Square of like all of cottage country kind of thing. To put it in that kind of mentality. But it's shallow lakes. They're all close by. They're all connected with canal systems, and they're just busy, busy, busy in the summer. Like it's just ridiculous there, man. You want to fish, and all these fish are, in 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 15 feet of water, and all these boats and jet skis blowing by, and it's like they're heavily fished. So tough lakes to fish, and they got lots of muskie in there. Not so much anymore, but these lakes are getting fished out here, right? Um, Let me see. Will Davidson says that should be a fun one to go and see. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the plane one. Yeah, check that out, man. I remember telling a friend about it because a friend of mine, we used to watch a lot of documentaries, and he'd tell me about ones that he watched and stuff. Documentaries of all kinds, right? And then I told him, yo, you got to watch this one. I know me and you talk about documentaries for a bunch of times here and there, and I tell you to watch this one, you tell me to watch this one, but I pressured him to watch that one. I said, you got to watch this because he was a big truck mechanic, right? So he could appreciate the guys doing big jobs like that. And yeah, then when he watched it, he came in, he came around the next time that I saw him, and he was that destroyed me, man. He said that hit home right at the heart. So go check it out, guys. B-29, Frozen in Time, man. Like I said, it's about the U-2 spy plane pilot who went to rescue this plane that was abandoned. It was crashed in Greenland, which is just off the coast of the mainland of Canada, right? Very interesting documentary, man. Will Davidson says a fished out lake isn't fun, and the fish aren't gonna bite as hard. Yeah, and you know what I've learned about fishing in the U.S. is you look on the map and there's not much water out there, right? So the lakes are like fished out, man. New York State, it's got the Finger Lakes and stuff like that, right? And it's so popular too. And see, the thing about the difference with America and Canada is people in the U.S., I would imagine this is true. I don't know the numbers, but I would imagine that people in the U.S. have a lot more money than Canadians, because this is actually one thing that I wrote down. I have a list of things that I wanted to mention on the channels, like certain things to talk about is the difference between Canadians and Americans. And you guys tend to have a lot more money than we do. Like, say if, you guys are like, building up trucks and, giving them lift kit and this and that, you guys do it like 3, 5, 10 times like bigger than us. So I would imagine that you have people that have money for boats and professional anglers just, going and hammering out these lakes and people have money to access those kind of places a lot better than Canada, right? Canada, we have the availability because we have so much water, but we have the most fresh water in the world, but the lakes are getting fished out here. Um, I know in the States you guys have a lot of reservoirs, you don't have lakes. Um, Michigan has some lakes, and then Wisconsin and Minnesota is a lot like Canada, right? Those places are like in line with our cottage country. If you go east of Wisconsin and Minnesota, and east right over across the Great Lakes into Canada, then that's like our cottage country, right? So it's like the same latitude. Um, but yeah, I heard what fishing was really good back in the 1990s, and I started fishing in 1998. So I kind of miss the heydays of fishing then. Let me just check my battery here. 11%. Yeah, sorry guys, I didn't plug this in, man. And well, I did plug it in, but it wasn't in. I should have checked and made sure. But like I said, with these live streams, I'm always having trouble for one reason or another. So I still got some time here. Hopefully, you know what? Let me see if I can get an extension cord and I can get a better charge on this phone. One sec. Okay, things are looking bleak here because I got this power bar. My extension cord that I originally had. What's this for? Oh, this is for the laptop. Shoot. Okay, no, this didn't work. Okay. Let me just figure out where these wires are going. And I can plug in this power bar. I can plug in my phone. Let me get the little charger thing. And I could get a better charge here. I just gotta figure out where some of these wires are going and figure out which one to unplug because this power bar is like loaded up. Okay, I have progress here. Got the power bar in. We'll get my little charger and then we should be good to go for a bit longer. And this is a bit of a stretch too. I might need to get a few more inches on this power bar and then I'll be alright. Use that little thing. I got my camera bag here. I filmed another video today. I picked up some apple wood. Oh, I know where the charger is. I think it's plugged into the wall there. Hang on. Anybody notice I got better lighting than last time? So I found this set of lights for a studio setup, and with the big like the umbrella kind of things where you bounce the light off and everything, like this whole LED kit. So I brought one home, So it's coming in handy here. Okay. There's one wire here. What's that plugged into? Oh, okay. One sec, I'm gonna figure this out here in a second. I think this is gonna do it. Oops. I'm gonna turn this around. Sorry guys. Sorry about that. Okay, and after I have this plugged in, I just got to check it and make sure that the charge rate is doing better. It says I got 8% here, so I'm going to check back in a couple of minutes, see if I get to 9-10%, then we should be okay. If we have a good charge rate, I can keep this going on. Outside with Shibe is in the house. How you doing, Shibe? Happy New Year, man. Thanks for stopping in. Had a lovely chat going on here. We had some technical difficulties before where I was trying to turn my phone on to do not disturb, and then somebody told me, Chippy's Outdoors told me that you can't push any buttons on your phone or else it disconnects the stream, right? So learning lesson. I'll make sure that's all figured out then before, or I'll make sure that's figured out beforehand so that we don't have that problem. So how many woodhounds do we have in here? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We got about 10 here right now. It's fun chatting with you guys every Friday on the Back 40 live stream. Yeah, Dan's got something good going on there. He's got a good character for that show, you know, and he brings a lot of people together. How many people does he usually have on there? He's usually got maybe, I don't know, maybe 70, maybe 100 at a time, sometimes more. But yeah, it's fun being on that channel. He's got more frills on his live stream than I do, but I just use the YouTube itself. He's got like the whole like streaming software program, which I'd like to learn myself and do, you know. Yeah, Shibe. It's been 2 years on YouTube, and you know I'm really enjoying meeting you, all you guys, and having fun with talking about firewood. You know, Chuck at Iron and Oak Sawmill says, "Hey Shibe, great roadside logging videos." Yeah, Shibe's been finding wood on the side of the road in his areas, and just going and cutting it up and hauling it away. Right, lots of nice oak going on in there. And good scores, you know. I'm lucky that I get the tree service wood because I don't have to go and cut anything, right? There might be, I mean, if you have wood that's already fallen down and you're going to go cut the tree, then that's fine. It's nice to get, right? But yeah, I guess a lot of people are used to, you know, either harvesting their wood or they go and buy log trucks. They buy logs right from the truck, right? They get a truck to come by and deliver the logs, but I'm lucky enough to get my wood delivered to me, you know, so it's like sometimes anyway, but I have to go pick up my wood most of the time, and I have no problem finding wood, you know. Sometimes I'm just driving around and I see they cut a tree down somewhere, so I just go and I pick up the wood myself, you know. Nobody's going to say anything to you. It's just on the side of the road. You can go and get it, right? Yeah, I don't think this chart is going to hold up, guys, because I think it's just registering again that it's charging now. So I'm actually holding the power bar. So I'll see how long I can hold this. Anthony, you need those swinging ladies in the little animation when I have the live stream. Yeah, I'd like to have all those little frills and stuff, you know? That'd be fun, man. Have things to help me out, keep the show going too. They have some aids that can help you do stuff, right? Help you engage in the chat and keep you updated and, you know, just help you out overall, right? But yeah, there's so many aspects of this YouTube. It's not easy, guys. It's not easy making videos. You don't just point and shoot and then, you know, you just go and you upload it, right? And the editing and, you know, all the little stuff that you add. I add a like button, which is a couple different files to get it, right? There's an audio file and there's a video file, right? Or, well, a picture file. Well, it's a PNG, so it's like an animated, like, picture, right? Then I have the subscribe button. That's another thing. You got to tinker with it because it's in green screen mode, right? You got to add music. You got to cut the music at a certain spot. Maybe you got to fade the music in the beginning. Maybe you got to fade the music at the end. It's a lot of point and click stuff. It is like it's easy that way, but it's time consuming, you know. And also you got to use your brain a lot to put your video together and try and sequence everything properly and format it right. You know, sometimes you're just out there filming and you don't really have an idea how the video is going to go until you start like cutting out scenes and you have a shrunk down amount of video, and then you can start kind of picturing how you're going to put it together in that situation, right? So it's a lot of hard work, man, and I'm up late nights and up till sunrise a lot of times trying to finish the video, and sometimes even my software for editing the video, it's when I do like the last process before I actually create the video file, then I have a problem, and the thing freezes, right? So I have to start the thing over, and it takes a lot of resources on the computer. So it takes a while to be able to use the program because like you have to wait for it to slow down and to have everything set up so that you can start playing around with stuff, because it'll freeze for a second. You got to wait for it to come back to normal so that you can start doing the types of things that you want to do in the process, you know. Anybody who hasn't hit that like button, then hit that like button. Let me see my battery here. Oh, I'm on 4%, guys. This is gonna finish soon, man. Unfortunately, that's how it's gonna go today, but like I said, learning lesson for next time. And Tony Baloney Cheese and Macaroni sent the first super chat. We need a super chat or two in here. Thank you very much, man. Much appreciated. Yeah, as a super chat or no super chat, I like coming on here and talking to everybody and having everybody join. That's my circle. I'm a very social person, so you know, it's nice to just have everybody come in and you see, it's nice to know when people are interested in what you're doing and what you want to say, right? Because I'm just an average person and, you know, I don't think I'm anything special, but, you know, I think like, okay, well, I'll make videos. Why would anybody want to watch my content or see me on live, you know, more than, you know, something else, right? How come you want to spend your time here? Right, so that's really flattering, guys, and you know, I'm a very humble person, so I appreciate you guys stopping in, man. Like I said, when I started doing the live stream, or sorry, the YouTube channel, I was like, well, what kind of viewership am I gonna get? You know, am I gonna have loyal followings like some people? Because when I was seeing other people's videos, I was seeing the comments and stuff like that, and I see the type of things that people say, the support and everything. So it's nice to see when people actually support what you do, and they take a genuine interest in what you do, you know. Chuck at Iron Oak Sawmill, hope this charges the battery a little bit. Yeah. Well, like I said, next time I'll just make sure it's plugged in. I'm still checking the battery here. It's kind of holding in now. It just said I was at 8%, it went to 6%. And then I saw it 4%, and it's holding at 4% now. So maybe I'm keeping it going now because everything's held in. Like I said, I'm actually holding this power bar up off the ground with the charger in my hand, right? So in about another maybe 20 minutes, half an hour, it's not going to be so comfortable. But whatever. Sometimes you got to tough it out, right? You got to get it done. Sometimes, you know, when you're on your last legs of doing something, you can just kind of squeeze it out and do what you gotta do, you know. Check this battery thing again. I just don't want to see it. Oh, see, yeah, see, it says 3% now, right? Okay, it's really not. Did it just? What happened there? Is it not registering now? Okay, that's better. Okay, I just pulled on the cord a little bit, so hopefully I don't have a problem. Um, JW98 says, I know you do some scrapping, so do I watch any scrapper channels? No, I've seen a couple videos. I've never really watched the scrapper channels. I haven't been that much interested in it. I guess it's because, I mean, it's always nice to get really good scrap and to see the other people getting really good scrap, right? Because some people, they just make a killing on scrap, you know what I mean? But it really, when you get scrap, it's people getting lucky, right? So they maybe have some connects where people like, oh, well, hey, I can get you this scrap and it's this big place, or, we have all these things here. And that's how you get big scrap. You get lucky sometimes. Sometimes you just get a call out of blue. You don't even know the person. They just call you, oh, yeah, we'll come. And, it's like a Jesus and the devil thing where it's like, oh, you see everything you see